Baron Corbin is coming back to the WWE. Randy Orton is out with a significant back injury again. And Tiffany Stratton breaks her silence on all the rumors. All this and more on the weekly wrestling roundup. This is, of course, a weekly news series on this channel where we round up all of the most talked about WWE news of the week and put them into one video for your convenience. I'm not gonna just tell you the news either. I'm actually gonna give you some opinions about it as well. Since this is a brand new series on this channel, I am looking for your feedback. So if you like it or hate it, I really do need to know so that I know whether or not to continue this series. Right now, the plan is for this to be the Monday video, but things could change. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And if the daily wrestling content just simply is not enough for you, consider coming over to the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you're gonna get so much more extra content like the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, PLE reviews, and so much more. Come check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. You already know. Let's get started talking about the news. All right, folks, let's start by talking about the one, the only Baron Corbin, formerly the Lone Wolf, and then after that, Constable Corbin. What a terrible, terrible time in the WWE that was. And then he was Happy Corbin, and then Bum-Ass Corbin, and then Happy Corbin there again for a little while. And then I think he was kind of a pirate down in NXT, and then he became Bishop Dyer after leaving WWE, and now he might be coming back to the WWE as Baron Corbin once again, as he is heavily rumored to be internally talked about to be brought in. Take that to mean whatever you think that means. So this story was broken by the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer, as a lot of these things tend to be. Shout out to Wrestle Talk for summarizing all of this. Report: Baron Corbin WWE return has been heavily talked about. And if we go down to the summary, it says Baron Corbin is probably back, right back in WWE. I've not heard a done deal, but I know it's been talked about. I just know that he's been talked about being brought in. It might even be done, but I haven't had it officially confirmed to me that it's done. I have 100% been confirmed that it's been heavily talked about. So in essence, it's Dave Meltzer saying, I have 100% confirmation that something might be being talked about. So we don't actually have confirmation that Baron Corbin is actually coming back to the WWE, but it's pretty clear that in his time in WWE that he was a pretty trusted figure in terms of working, whether it was in the tag team division, mid-card, in the main event. For goodness sakes, they had him retire Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 35. So the powers that be for a long time, they really liked Baron Corbin. And then all of a sudden, they just didn't. And if you recall, he went down to NXT and then he teamed up with Braun Breaker, making the Wolf Dogs, which was one of the more entertaining acts in NXT. And I think a lot of people were ready for both Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker to get called up to the main roster. But in a very kind of odd move, Baron didn't get to make that move up. Instead, he was just gone from the WWE entirely. But it doesn't surprise me that ultimately things were left in, I guess, in such a good position between WWE and Baron Corbin. Like I said, he was just such a dependable worker for them for so long that I guess it doesn't surprise me that they want more of those dependable workers on the roster. I will say, it's a little bit peculiar to want to bring back a Baron Corbin off the back of all of these releases, because you had a lot of guys already on the roster that you released that could have been playing the Baron Corbin role that you're probably bringing him in to do. And the most obvious one that immediately comes to mind is like an Aleister Black. You know, they're both big, tall dudes that play a bit of a darker character. And if I'm being honest, you know, and if I'm giving you my personal preference, I think that Aleister Black plays that role significantly better than Baron Corbin. Now, they're not apples to apples, you know. It's not like Baron Corbin is trying to be like this creepy dude like Aleister Black. But what I'm saying is that it is a little bit odd to let somebody go just to bring somebody back that is going to be playing a similar role that I don't think will be as good as the guy that was released. But then again, he might not be getting brought back to fill in that void left by Aleister Black. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they bring him back and he's got an entirely different gimmick. Maybe he's a brony, you know, maybe he's a huge fan of the Care Bears or the Powerpuff Girls. I don't know. His gimmick could entirely change, but I doubt that that's going to be the case. I do have to wonder, you know, when bringing somebody back like a Baron Corbin after a wave of releases, is it because you think you can get them on a cheaper contract than the guys that you let go? Because we know that, or at least we have been told through the news machine, that TKO is trying to slash and gut budget wherever it is that they can, trying to get rid of contracts that are not beneficial to them, trying to cut down on anything and everything that they can. So to bring in a Baron Corbin, I'm wondering if it's to bring him in on a contract that is beneficial to TKO, that's literally the only reason I could think of as to why they would bring somebody in after they so publicly are making all of these cuts to save money. Another reason why you might be wanting to bring in a Baron Corbin, and again, this is my headcanon, my theorizing, it could be to have him come back to NXT. NXT, specifically the men's division, is a little bit of a primordial soup. It's a bit of a fallout wasteland as they got raided of all of their talent over the last couple of months. Just in the last handful of months, they've lost Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Ethan Page, Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints. The 6 biggest names that they had have all left NXT, and NXT, if you've seen the news recently, has been struggling from a ratings perspective, bringing in the lowest number that it's brought in. Perhaps the idea is to bring in a recognizable face, a veteran face, like they did with Naraku, formerly Evil of New Japan, and bring him into NXT to maybe help give that recognizability to NXT while also giving, a working canvas for these newer guys to work with, and somebody that knows the WWE way of working. That to me is where Baron Corbin fits, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't see him fitting the main roster in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, our next story had me like with a heavy heart. I was gutted when I originally saw this story, and that is that Randy Orton is dealing with, quote, a significant back injury, and it's the reason why he's been left off of TV since WrestleMania 42. Now, we have known this already. We knew not necessarily that it was a bad injury or that it was a back injury, but we knew off the back of WrestleMania that Randy Orton was injured. A huge portion of the commentary going into the early portions of the match was that Randy Orton was dealing with an injury and that the rumors were real. It was confirmed to us by commentary itself. And we know the history that Randy Orton has with back injuries, a back injury that kept him out throughout the earlier years of the 2020s for what felt like almost 2 years at this point. And we were just lucky to be able to get him back. And what's awesome about Randy is that he knows that we're always wondering about his back. So the man has become a savant, a master of selling back injuries in the middle of matches that has everybody concerned about his health. But when news breaks out that he has a, quote, significant back injury, I can't help but obviously think of the absolute worst case scenario here of another year plus long hiatus without Randy Orton. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that would be absolutely killer for so many storylines, for SmackDown in general that seems to be kind of lacking on that excitement side of things, but also the saga with Cody Rhodes that finally got started after years of waiting. Now we'd have to wait, who knows how long until we could be able to revisit that storyline. But luckily, we had news from the mouth itself. Randy Orton tweeting, Lamau, again, even in this news series, I'm telling you, it's pronounced Lamau, just milking it, guys. Leave me alone. I'm trying to enjoy my summer before I come back and take number 15, which is obviously nothing but fantastic news. By the way, the original story of the significant back injury was reported once again by Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer. So again, a lot of the stuff that gets reported there, a lot of it ends up being true, and then a lot of it ends up, being a fugazi, however it is that you want to pronounce it. But yeah, it's just Randy Orton milking the so-called injury so that I guess he can take some time off and hopefully return for that summer stretch in the build-up to SummerSlam. The way that he worded this, I'm trying to enjoy my summer before I come back and take that number 15, tells me that maybe we could be seeing him come back towards the end of the summer, which kind of puts it perfectly for that 2-night SummerSlam. I really do believe that SummerSlam as is, I just doesn't have that type of hype. I know it's still we're still far away from SummerSlam, but it just doesn't feel like there's that excitement for SummerSlam in years past and people flocking to buy early tickets. Randy Orton not being part of the show, I'm confident will hurt the show and will hurt ticket sales. So I do hope that for my own personal enjoyment, that Randy Orton is able to come back for SummerSlam to continue this saga with Cody Rhodes. Will it be for the title? We'll see, because we've got Gunther just around the corner at Clash in Italy, where I think he's going to be a serious threat to take that title away from Cody Rhodes. But yes, folks, we can breathe easy. The report of the significant back injury is just Randy Orton playing hooky from work and staying at home and milking it so that he can enjoy his time.
Is he dead?
We have a new competitor.
What? We do! What is happening?
The champion.
Dude, it's a special moment in time. And this! Oh, dude, her knee. I forgot how amazing this match is. Dude, that's like impossible. Crazy, man.
Wait.
Oh my God. That was a sneak peek of one of the more ridiculous weeks of Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, you're getting the insane action figure Brock Lesnar's Barnyard Brawl by WSC stage creator. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like the greatest thing that we've ever seen. You're going to be getting Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 35. The absolutely insane tag team TLC match from SummerSlam 2025. The classic between Hijo del Vikingo and Chad Gable at WWE Worlds Collide. And the gem that was Javon Evans versus Leon Slater at TNA Bound for Glory. You're going to be getting all of this, plus the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, PLE reviews, and all of the currently ongoing series, like where I'm watching and ranking every single NXT TakeOver main event ever, and Sancho is watching and ranking every single Elimination Chamber match ever. That plus all of the completed series that already exist on the page, like watching and ranking every Taker WrestleMania match, watching and ranking every John Cena World Championship win and loss, and so much more. So go check it out. There is thousands of hours available immediately upon your sign up over on patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that if you try it even for just 1 month, that you're going to fall in love with the community and the content that we post exclusively over there. If you're already a patron, thank you so very much for your support, but let's get you back to the wrestling video that you came for. Oh, and here's this next story, the one you've all been waiting for. Tiffany Stratton addressing the rumors. What rumors might you think I'm talking about? Well, it's the rumor, of course. This comes off the back of a Tiffany Stratton Twitch stream, which, by the way, news to me that she's a Twitch streamer. That's kind of cool. I'm looking at her Twitch background, and this is, I mean, way better than mine. But anyway, she was live streaming on Twitch, basically taking fan questions, and a lot of people were asking her about a bunch of the rumors going around. And of course, I'm gonna just let Tiffany Stratton finally debunk the rumor. Okay, you guys ready for this? Because so many people have been waiting for this moment.
Tiffany Stratton has a bunch of work done. Guys, I just had my boobs done, got some lip filler, and we've got some Botox, and that's it.
That's it, folks. Tiffany Stratton has fake boobs. Woo, 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 woo. That sound the alarms. Oh, we finally figured it out. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This isn't the rumors I'm necessarily talking about. She did talk about the rumors that people were interested in for a couple of years, and that was the rumors that she was involved in some sort of love triangle that ultimately got Giovanni Vinci fired. And that's the story really that I'm talking about. So Tiffany Stratton denies the rumor that a former WWE wrestler was fired for flirting with her. It is a slow news week here at the Wrestling Roundup, folks, that we're talking about relationship stuff here. All right, so we could just look at the direct quote. This also came from that live stream, which is, you guys, that might be the craziest one that I've ever heard regarding to Giovanni Vinci getting fired for flirting with her. That did not happen. That is not true, she said. There is no truth to that. I hope that he's doing amazing. I heard that he just signed with TNA, and I think that he's going to kill it. So absolutely no truth to that. That's complete false accusation. I always personally found that story to be weird. Like, I guess the idea would be that Giovanni Vinci was trying to flirt with Tiffany Stratton, and what, Kaiser had so much pull at a time when he was also being barely used that he was able to politic himself to getting Giovanni Vinci fired. That like literally never made any sense to me at all whatsoever. Now, of course, leave it to the internet to still find a reason to get mad at Tiffany Stratton, saying that like, oh, why didn't you come forward with this earlier? I don't know, probably because there's a stupid rumor, you know, like it's a stupid rumor. And also like, it's just like people's relationship stuff is just nobody's business. Like, I'm reporting on it here, like on an ironic basis, but like really at the end of the day, I don't care who's flirting with who. I just don't. But yeah, the notion, the idea that somebody got fired for flirting, I mean, it sounds very WWE in the 90s, you know? It sounds like something that would have happened then, but certainly not something that I could see happening in the big old 2020. Wait, was it 2024 or 2025 that this happened? I don't know, man. Giovanni's been gone for so long at this point, but yeah, there you go. Tiffany has debunked the rumors. She did not get flirted with that led to the firing of Giovanni Vinci, and her boobs aren't real. Boom, there you go. Oh my God, mind's blown around the world. She did mention this little tidbit here that former WWE star Fabian Aichner, that's Giovanni Vinci, joins TNA Wrestling, and good for him because he took this really long break from professional wrestling in general to the point where I wasn't sure if he was actually going to come back. Now, I do think that TNA is perhaps the right place for somebody like a Fabian. I don't know that AEW would have been the correct place for him. Maybe the indie circuit could have been good for him as well, but I do think that TNA kind of fits him a little bit better just in terms of maybe being able to rebuild his career, and maybe he has intentions of maybe one day coming back to the WWE, and if that is the case, working with TNA is a good first step towards that because of TNA and NXT/WWE strong relationship with one another. But yeah, shout out to former Giovanni Vinci, Fabian Aichner, returning back to wrestling. Sticking with TNA news, did you see that Bayley might be competing at TNA Slammiversary in 2026? I'm grabbing a lot of stuff from Wrestle Talk. Isn't it funny that I am aggregating the news aggregator? Shout out to Wrestle Talk. So WWE's Bayley teases TNA Slammiversary 2026 appearance, tells Indy Hartwell that she thinks that she can fit her in her schedule. I think Indy Hartwell versus Bayley would be a very fun matchup for Slammiversary. For those that don't know, Slammiversary is arguably like TNA's like biggest show of the year. Some would say second biggest show of the year. It's like that and Bound for Glory. It kind of depends on the year, really. Nonetheless, the reason why I think this is cool is because Bayley is everywhere except the main roster right now. Bayley is appearing apparently now potentially in the future in TNA, which I think is so sweet. We know about their relationship, former matches that have had WWE stars in there, NXT stars. We had AJ Styles appear in TNA not that long ago. So it would be pretty standard par for the course for Bayley to show up in TNA, but she's also appearing in NXT shows, and she wants to do more with NXT apparently, and she's also got a full-fledged storyline down in AAA, teaming up with La Carolina and Lola Vice against Las Toxicas. Like Bayley is like Mrs. Worldwide right now. She's pulling a full-ass pitbull right now when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. One of the things that I like to say about Bayley when I see these types of stories is that Bayley has accomplished pretty much everything on the main roster. That she is, if we were to use video game terms, she's just a new game plus. She's just doing all of the different side missions that she didn't do the first time around. I think at this point, she's just in the yeah, sure, let's do that. Let's go there. Let's work here. Let's work with this person I've never worked before. And I think it's going to lead to some pretty fun matchups in the future if we continue to get this out of Bayley. But I would also like WWE main roster proper to start featuring Bayley, please. Here's a story that I didn't want to be true. So apparently, former WWE wrestler Reginald, you remember that guy? He was like working with Carmella a few years ago during like the Thunderdome era. He used to do all the backflips. He worked in Cirque du Soleil, that guy. Well, as it turns out, he's saying that he almost main evented WrestleMania. And I'll save you like the reading of all of this, but essentially it's a quote from a podcast that he was on where he's telling the story that Vince wanted the iconic, because it is an iconic match, the iconic WrestleMania 37 night one main event to be Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, which that is what we got. But in Vince's twisted world, he wanted it to also be with Reginald. So it would have been a triple threat intergender match, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair versus Reginald. And Reginald was explaining that the idea here was that this would give him an insane amount of heat for being part of a match that he had no business being a part of. Folks, this is the type of stuff that you point to when people say, we want Vince back. Vince was in full-blown senile mode, towards the latter end of his run as the head of WWE and WWE creative. Like, he was just booking some absolutely nonsensical stuff to the point where adding Reginald to this would have been like, yeah, I guess that makes sense, because that's what we were used to, the nonsense of Vince McMahon booking throughout the late 2010s and really early pandemic era. This wouldn't have surprised me, ultimately. I'm just glad that saner minds prevailed and that Reginald did not get added to this, and that we got the untainted, absolutely fantastic night one main event of Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. I'm just glad Reginald was not in that. Hey, time to rejoice, people. WWE house show ticket prices are expected to be, quote, far more affordable. Whatever that means, right? Who knows? Maybe you might still be too poor to be able to enjoy a WWE house show, but I do like the idea of more house shows, which it is what we're getting here. If you look just at the 2026 summer tour, we are going to have a handful of different dates here. There's actually a house show that's not on here that I'm going to be going to in August in London, Ontario, Canada. So they're even hitting like small areas, like London, Ontario is a town of no more than like 500,000 people. Meanwhile, Toronto's got like the 8 million people not 2 hours away. So it's pretty cool that WWE is back to doing these smaller markets for their house shows. And double cool that the intention is for these tickets to be significantly more affordable. Now, affordability, of course, that is subjective from area to area, from person to person, but I want to be optimistic that it will actually be affordable at the end of the day. That's not to say like that they're not going to be expensive. Affordable doesn't necessarily mean cheap. It could just mean, like I said, affordable to a particular demographic, because the house show ticket prices that I saw for London, Ontario were still like fairly steep, but still significantly cheaper than something like Raw or SmackDown. So I think they could be more affordable in comparison to the entirely unaffordable PLEs in Raws and SmackDown. So I don't think that you should expect to be able to get in through the door for a WWE house show like you could have 20 years ago for $20 in the nosebleeds. I don't think that's going to happen. But house shows coming back like this throughout the summer, I also think is just great. We've seen Cody Rhodes talk about the importance of house shows and getting reps and getting chemistry between talent that don't often work with one another, getting NXT call-ups the opportunity to work more. And we have a lot of notable NXT call-ups as well. So for them to get more reps, more opportunities, especially somebody like an Obafemi who barely gets reps because his matches are 2 minutes long, that's not getting reps. That's not getting better. So if he were to get, those longer matches on house shows, I think that would do wonders. One, for the bang for your buck, but also for the career of these younger talents that don't have the opportunity to work the house show circuit like many of the veterans were able to. Here's another interesting story. This one won't take very long. I have some quick thoughts about it. John Cena thinks that the John Cena Classic, quote, could be a version of WWE's All-Star Game. And I couldn't have picked a worse quote to try and get people hyped up for this, John. My issue going into the John Cena Classic was the voting aspect. There's clearly things that they're going to need to work on and kinks that they're going to need to fix. I understand that. There's probably plenty of time until the John Cena Classic, so I'm sure they can iron these things out. But one of the concerns that I think is a totally valid one is people saying that this feels like it's going to be a show where wins and losses don't matter, that it's going to be an exhibition show, and exhibition shows are not the worst, but I get people's concerns about the idea of wins and losses not really being an important metric. There was also Lance Storm that said that, why would a talent getting paid north of $500,000 want to help put over somebody making $70,000 and making their contract more appealing to TKO, and thus they could replace me because then all of a sudden start pushing this talent that makes way less money than me because they want to have the lowest overhead possible. I think that that's a totally fair business concern that I don't know that will actually materialize, but I get it. But John Cena calling this WWE's All-Star Game is just such a bad quote, because especially in the year 2026, there's no more useless weekend in sports than All-Star Weekend, especially like the NBA, the Pro Bowl. Nobody tunes into that. Nobody wants to see that because none of the players are going at full speed. None of the players have anything at stake. None of the players care at all whatsoever. The NHL has kind of figured it out. This Four Nations Cup that they did kind of recently was pretty sweet. Hopefully they continue to do something like that. MLB at the very least put something on the line in terms of home field advantage for the World Series, but for the most part, calling something an all-star game to me is like a red flag to say this is gonna suck. But who knows, maybe John Cena is old school and thinks all-star games are still cool, but they're not. All-star games suck. We had Ronda Rousey, ladies and gentlemen, go into her bout against Gina Carano and win in under 20 seconds. I obviously cannot show the clip, but we can certainly show some photos of it. It's literally from beginning to end, mount, boom, armbar, boom, it's over. Gina Carano taps pretty much instantly. And I did see a lot of I don't want to clown on people, all right, but I do think it's people that are not knowledgeable on the topic of MMA. And I'm not the most knowledgeable, but like I watch MMA on a fairly regular basis, specifically more so the UFC. Anyone that has ever watched a Ronda Rousey bout knows that that's a Ronda Rousey bout. Like all of her wins that she got in the UFC were pretty much like this. It was like a running meme as to whether or not the like freaking tax attorneys and accountants and dentists that she was facing in her early UFC days could even last a minute with Ronda Rousey, because this is how she won. And wow, Gina Carano, who hasn't had an MMA bout in like what, 17 years, losing like this it makes a tremendous amount of sense. That the idea that this is rigged to me is silly. The other thing that's silly to me is Ronda Rousey saying that the reason women in WWE are main eventing is because of her. So she said, quote, "I'm very aware that the women are headlining WWE because of me." She talks about like other sports as well and headlining like mixed martial arts, boxing, things like that. I'll give it to her in boxing and in MMA and in bare knuckle fighting. She was definitely the trailblazer there. But I think the women are main eventing WWE because of what started with Sasha Banks and Bayley. That to me is the anchor being point. That's the inflection point in the timeline that led to women being able to main event, that led to WWE wanting to even bring in a Ronda Rousey because women's wrestling was starting to take off. The idea that women's wrestling took off because of Ronda Rousey, I think, is a fallacy. I think she came in when women's wrestling was already starting to skyrocket. I think she didn't ride the wave. She definitely helped ignite the already existing fire. But the idea that women are headlining WWE events because of Ronda Rousey is just wrong. And you know what? Since this is a news show, they always say to end the news on a happy note. So let's end it on a happy note because we had news that Iyo Sky has married her now husband, Naraku, currently in NXT, formerly of New Japan Pro Wrestling as Evil. Fun fact, Naraku is the name of the evil guy in one of my favorite animes as a kid, Inuyasha. So yeah, I figured I'd end it with some happy news. I can't read that. I can't read Japanese, but I'm sure somebody can. I'm sure it's a nice note. But congratulations goes out to Naraku and Iyo Sky. All right, folks, we'll end it there. Thank you guys very much for watching this. Again, because this is a brand new series, I please ask you and urge you to leave me some feedback. I'm going to leave the links to the stories in the description as well if you want to read them yourselves. But that's it. I'm done. Take care. Get out of here.